Hi, this is Vicki with Crafting for Fun. I'm here today to show you a really quick and easy Thanksgiving card. This card was made using the Deco Label Framelits from Stampin' Up, but could really be made with any nested dies. So dig out your Spellbinders or your Framelits or your lifestyle dies and give this technique a try. This card has a shortened or a half of a panel on the front with a shaped focal image, and then when you open it up there's also a shaped area on the inside to write your message. So really fun and different ideal for a card. And this card also features a stamp from the Mingle All the Way stamp set, which I just love. It says, "Hope your Thanksgiving is stuffed with happiness." So I hope you enjoyed today's video tutorial. Let me get my things together and I'll show you what you need to make this card. To create today's card, you'll need the following items. You'll need a piece of cardstock for your base card. This piece measures 5 1/2 inches long by 6 1/2 inches wide, and I have scored it at 4 1/4 inches from the left hand edge, so 4 1/4 inches over. So the section on the right hand side is 2 1/4 inches wide and 5 1/2 inches long, and the section on the left hand side is 5 1/2 inches long by 4 1/4 inches wide. You'll also need a small scrap of designer paper. This piece measures 2 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches long. And then you'll need scraps of cardstock that coordinate with the designer paper that you've chosen. And in this case, I'm using a piece of Very Vanilla. Actually, I'm using 2 pieces of Very Vanilla. A piece of green, and this green actually does have a slight bit of pattern to it. It's a green on green pattern paper piece, and then a piece of kind of a golden yellow color. In addition to that, I'm using 2 colors of ink. I'm using Crushed Curry by Stampin' Up and Early Espresso, so brown and yellow ink, and then you'll need some stamps. I'm going to use the sentiment from the Mingle All the Way stamp set, the one that says, "Hope your Thanksgiving is stuffed with happiness." And I'm going to use this tiny leaf image from a Close to My Heart stamp set called Harvest Happiness. But any small leaf or fall shaped stamp would work. And then in addition to that, you'll also need a set of nested dies. Now I am using the Deco Label Framelits by Stampin' Up, but you could use any shape of nested dies that you might have. Sizzix makes framelits. Framelits are also sold by Stampin' Up. There's nestability dies, and Lifestyle has a line of nested dies. There are many choices to choose from. So use whatever you have in your stash. And in addition to that, you'll need adhesive. And one more item that I am using is I'm using a little bit of jute twine. I tied a bow out of jute, and I'm going to use that to embellish the front of my card. You could also use ribbon or a button to embellish your card. So let me get set up and I'll show you how I made this card. I'm actually going to begin by stamping. I'm going to stamp my sentiment on a scrap of Very Vanilla cardstock, and I'm just using, again, Early Espresso ink, which is a dark brown ink. So I have my sentiment stamped, and I'm ready to bring my Big Shot in to cut this piece out. Now, with my dies, let me show you the dies here. I'm going to be using the smallest, the next one up, and the next one up. So if you count from the inside or from the smallest die in your nested set, I'm going to use the smallest, the next to smallest, and the one above that. So those are the 3 dies that I will need. I've actually removed, I believe, my larger die from this set. So let me grab my Big Shot. Now I'm going to be using my magnetic platform to cut these out. And I have a few of my pieces already cut because I've made several of these cards and I had some pieces left over. So I have a magnetic platform here I'm going to put down. And I'm going to lay down 1 clear acrylic plate. On top of that clear acrylic plate, I'm going to lay my piece that I've already stamped with my sentiment, and I'm going to use my smallest die to cut that out. So you'll just wiggle it around until you get your sentiment where you want it. and you'll just want to make sure that you have a sentiment that fits well within the size of your die cut shape. So I'm going to roll that through. And that is my first piece. So I'm going to take that and set it aside. Now I'm going to grab a scrap of the yellow colored cardstock, and I'm going to put my clear acrylic plate down, and I'm going to use my largest die, or the third one in. So not the smallest, not the second one, but the largest of the 3 dies that I'm using, and I'm going to roll that through. So I have that shape. I also already have pre-cut one in the same size. So with my largest of the 3 dies, I pre-cut a vanilla shape. And with the medium-sized die, I pre-cut my green shape. So I'll show you all of those pieces again. Let me move my Big Shot. So my smallest piece is my sentiment. I have 2 pieces that are the same size, one in vanilla and one in yellow, and those are from the largest die. And then from my medium-sized die, I cut one of the green pieces. So let me set all of those aside and bring back my stamp. So I need to do a little stamping. I'm going to use this leaf right here to stamp a little detail on one of my pieces, on that yellow piece. So I'm going to grab a piece of scratch paper so I don't dirty my work surface. I have my leaf stamp already on a block, and that crushed curry ink. Now this stamp is completely optional if you're using a pattern paper, but since I didn't have a pattern paper that I felt worked well with my stripe, I decided to just essentially make my own. So I'm just going to randomly stamp all over this piece. There we go. I've got one side, and I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. So now I am completely finished stamping. I'm going to move that out of the way. Set my scratch paper aside. And bring back my other parts of my card. So, I'm going to fold my base cardstock along that score line, and I'm going to use a bone folder to burnish so I get a nice tight crease. And then I'm going to take my piece of striped paper, the one that is 2 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm going to turn it over and add adhesive. Oops. Turn it over and add a little adhesive on the back side. Now I want to apply that piece to my flap, and I want to center it so that I have about the same amount of cardstock showing on all of the edges. So there we go. That part is done. Now I want to take my yellow piece, and this piece, one part is going to be showing on the inside, and one part is for the outside. And so if one of your pieces you feel like you did a better job of stamping, you can decide to position that so it will be visible on the inside. So I'm going to apply adhesive only on about 1/3, not quite over to the halfway mark of this piece. And then I'm going to position it so that it's roughly in the center from top to bottom and straight, and I want it to be almost all the way over to this right hand edge. And then I'm going to close it and press. Now when I move that flap, that piece, that stamped piece, will move with my card. Next I'm going to take my green piece. I'm going to apply adhesive on the back of it, and I'm going to center that right over my yellow piece. And then I'm going to take my stamped piece, my piece that has my sentiment on it, and I'm going to put that right in the center of my green piece. And I could have done a little bit better job of positioning that green piece. So I'm going to see if I work quickly, if I can still move it a little bit. There we go. Sometimes if you work quickly, you can. There we go. I think that's a better job of positioning. Okay, so now I want to, this looks fine, but I want to have a place to write my message inside of my card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my card up and I'm going to line this piece up right on top of the previous piece. And I'm going to hold it very tightly in place. And what I like to do is I go ahead and put adhesive, put adhesive on that, the portion there that I'm not holding on to. Make sure I have everything held in place very tightly, and then I close it up. Now you'll notice where I was holding it, I probably don't have any adhesive. So then I go and I just lift up the edge there where I was holding it, and just add a little extra adhesive underneath so that it's held in place well. Now watch what happens. When I close my card, all of my pieces line up so you cannot see that inner area. So I'm free to write a message anywhere inside of this vanilla piece, and it will be completely covered when the card is closed. And the only thing I do in addition to that is I take my little jute bow that I tied, and this is actually a double bow, so I used 2 pieces of jute that were each about 8 or 10 inches long, and tied a really small bow. And I'm going to go ahead and just stick that right on the front of my card there, right underneath the word happiness. So hope your Thanksgiving is stuffed with happiness. This is a really quick and easy card. It could be adapted for any occasion. And I hope that you enjoyed today's video tutorial. If you have any questions, please email me at craftingforfun@gmail.com, or as always, you can check out my blog for other craft ideas. Hope to see you back again here soon.